chair this meeting until a mayor is selected from amongst you. For those of you that are in attendance, the city of Owosso does not have an election for mayor. The mayor is chosen amongst the group after the election. So a majority of council tonight will choose our mayor and our mayor pro tem, and we will proceed from there. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, city clerk.
I will call this meeting to order. And first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I can have our clerk call the attendance.
Councilmember Here.
Here.
Haber.
Here.
Law.
Here.
Olson. Here. Osika.
Here.
Teich.
Here.
Teich.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our next agenda item is approval of the agenda. I would be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The agenda is adopted. Our next item is the adoption of the rules of order. And our city attorney will explain not only our rules of order, or the proposed rules of order, but also abstention from voting.
Thank you. Council members, with your role, you are obligated to vote on every item that's brought before this board. There's one exception to that rule, and that is if you have a conflict or if your family has a conflict. It's upon you to identify these conflicts. You have to, I recommend that you review the packets in advance of council meetings and you try and find them as soon as possible to let the council know when the council's in session that you have a conflict, because there is a procedure that goes with that conflict that the board, the council has to recognize and effectively put forth a vote if there's a contentious issue. So, the long story, the short of it is you have to vote on every question when you're present. So, as to rules of order, it's been the past practice, and I believe my predecessor relied on Robert's Rules of Order as well. It's a parliamentary procedure. It's very structured. The last I checked, we were on the 11th edition of Robert's Rules of Order. So if you need a copy of them, let me know. I could probably get you in line with somebody that can provide one to you. Otherwise, they're online. But as a rule, we want to abide by the 11th edition of Robert's Rules of Order. So, any questions?
And I will look for a motion to adopt the rules of order, Robert's Rules of Order, 11th edition.
I'll make a motion to adopt the rules of order.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next, we have the election of our mayor. The process for this, we will take nominations. There's no need for a second, so any member of council can nominate anyone else on the council. There's no need for anyone to support said motions. Once I have established that there are no more nominations to be made, I'll close the nominations and then ask you to vote. When you're voting, it's going to depend on how many people are nominated. Obviously, if there's only one nomination, then you can simply say yes or no when you're called on for your vote. If there is more than one council member that is nominated, then you will need to say the name of the person that you would like to see elected. Does everybody understand?
Yes.
Okay, great. And with that, I will open up the nominations for the office of mayor. Do we have any nominations?
I would like to nominate Councilman Teich.
I'd like to nominate Councilwoman Beer. Sorry.
Do we have any other nominations? No? Okay, with that, I will close nominations. And so we have two, Councilmember Fear and Councilmember Teich. So each member, when you are polled, will need to say the name of the person that you wish to have elected as mayor. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fear,
Janae.
Haver,
Teich.
Law,
Teich.
Olson,
Beer.
Osika,
Teich.
Hynek,
Teich.
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 Alright. With that, Mr. Teich, you are now the mayor. If you wouldn't mind joining me in front of the dais, and we'll give you your oath of office.
I got refreshments for after when
Actually. And yes, I was just reminded that this room has actually a great significance to Mr. Teich. That's his mother's portrait here. The room is named after his mother. As she was one of our very first female city council members, and she was always a strong member of the community and just really involved. So, neat lady.
Very, very neat lady. Mom was always very interested in the city. And at the time, she really had a passion to be on the council. And what the beautiful thing is that it didn't matter what gender you were, you could still run for the council. Would it be tough? Yes, because if she won, she'd be the very first woman to sit on this council. So she knew that she had the opportunity, and she knew that she would have to work at it very hard to get a seat. So I was in college, Olivet. I think I was a senior. I think it might have been 1974, I'm not sure. And came home and worked the campaign with her. Now, if you knew Mom, she was very organized, very hardworking. And she had, I don't know if it was precincts or whatever in Owosso, but it was sectioned off. And she got a campaign together, and meaning people. She came up with a 3x5 card, and Dad and I, and I believe my brother, and the rest of the team, we had assignments with that card. And we went door to door, and it was not just putting the card. We had to knock on that door and try to talk to someone. So we worked every door, and Mom won a 2-year term. That was the 4th place. And I remember being at Olivet at that time when she won. I was at Blair Hall. I was in the community room with a bunch of buddies, watching a black and white TV with rabbit ears, which you hardly could see, and it was on the news. It was that big. 2 years later, she won every precinct. She was number 1. And she became not only the first woman to sit on this council with 6 other men, she became the first mayor pro-tem. To go on, since I see Barbara Clatterball here, I believe Barbara was the very first woman to sit on the county commission. And the next step for Mom, she ran for the commission, and she was the second woman. And I remember going to the commission meeting now and then, and going to the offices that they had, and very special time. It's just a very special time. And when the council, during my time, dedicated through I think the actions of State Rep Ben Frederick and Mayor Chris Eveleth, was able to get this room dedicated to my mother. And so I get a little emotional here. I dedicate my mayorship to my mother. She would be absolutely thrilled and shocked. I'm standing here. So I think the support of the board. I can tell you, I am not Chris. I am not Ben.
Thank you.
Yes. No, not really, because they were very, very well qualified mayors. They came with a lot of experience. They actually recruited me, tried to talk me into running in 2013, which I did. Never really seeked it, but they saw something in me that they wanted me on the council to be part of the team and bring my expertise, what I do, versus the rest of the team. Everybody brings their own expertise, and that's what's really neat about this board. The other thing I like about the board, it is nonpartisan, and I like that as well. And so those things I do like. So yeah, I'm honored, and I do dedicate it to my mother. Loyal, very special mom. So I'll do my best. I'm gonna be leaning on Amy, leaning on Nathan, leaning on Scott, leaning on the chief, leaning on everybody, because this is gonna be a newbie for me. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, I'm gonna give it all I can give. And I'm gonna just try to be a sponge, absorb it. So that's all I have.
I think genetically you're predisposed. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind raising your right hand, and this is our outgoing mayor, Mayor Christopher Evelyn, on hand to witness. I, Robert J. Teich Jr.
I, Robert J. Teich Jr.
Being first duly sworn.
Do
Being first duly sworn.
duly sworn.
Do depose and say.
Do depose and say
That I will support.
that I will support
The Constitution of the State of Michigan.
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States,
And that I will endeavor.
and I will endeavor
To secure and maintain.
to secure and maintain
An honest and efficient.
an honest and efficient
Administration of the affairs.
administration of the affairs
Of the city of Owosso.
of the city of Owosso,
Free from partisan distinction and control.
free from partisan distinction and control,
And that I will perform the duties.
and I will perform the duties
Of mayor of the city of Owosso.
of mayor of the city of Owosso
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Mayor, I would like to present you with, first, the key to City Hall.
Okay?
And second, the gavel, which has been at the table since 1964, when the first mayor, under the city charter, was sworn in. I know you'll use it well. Congratulations.
And with the election of our newest mayor, I am handing over the reins of the meeting to Mr. Teich, Mayor Teich.
So we are going to move on to the election of the mayor pro tem. As with the mayor, nominations will be taken from the council. Again, no second is necessary. No motion for closure. So at this point in time, are there any nominations for Mayor Pro Tem? Mr. Laws.
I would like to nominate Sue Osika to continue in that position.
Okay.
I second.
Thank you. I didn't want to exclude you, Nick. So. You bet. Do I have any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Final. Okay. I, as chair, then will close the nomination for the Mayor Pro Tem. City Clerk.
Councilmember Fear,
Yes.
Haber,
Yes.
Law,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Osika,
Yes.
Teich,
Yes.
Mayor Teich.
Yes.
Would you mind joining me in front of the dais? You would raise your right hand. I, Susan Osika, being first duly sworn, do depose and say, that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and that I will endeavor to secure and maintain an honest and efficient administration of the affairs of the City of Owosso, free from partisan distinction and control, and that I will perform the duties of Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Owosso to the best of my ability.
Okay, moving on, is consideration of the City Council rules and procedures. And before I turn it over to the city manager, just want to address a email I got from, well, I'm going to say Councilperson Olson.
Thank you.
It's about an email regarding the opening prayer. If you would like, you may either make a motion or you can make some comments, and then if you want to make a motion or whatever you would like to do, or you don't have to do anything.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to discuss it. I guess I attended a meeting over the summer, and it was the first that I had seen where it opened with a prayer. And so I reached out to every member individually of the council to suggest that maybe we would create a much more inclusive city council meeting for people to attend, people that are non-religious, people that have a different religion than the person praying, if we would omit the prayer at the outset, because I just felt like it created a sense of performance that needed to happen in order for people to activate their role in our government, and they just wanted to show up and participate on whatever the issue. So performing a religious ceremony of any kind, I felt could create a sense of exclusion, of preference, and ultimately potentially bias. So to that end, I was suggesting, since I found out that it's up to the mayor's discretion, sole discretion, so I was trying to inquire if anybody had wanted to become mayor that would be willing to forego the prayer in lieu of inclusivity and just removing that barrier that potentially could exist for our residents.
So, to answer your question about the mayor making that decision, I'm not willing to do that, but if you want to make a motion and see if you can get the vote for that, that would be up to you.
I mean,
Are the mics on? We can't hear.
can you hear me?
Can you hear now?
No,
Is that better if
we're
I
on.
just get up a little closer? Okay. So what I said was, I'm not willing to remove the opening prayer as the mayor. Though I've given the option to Councilperson Olson if she would like to make a motion to see if the board would approve removing the opening prayer from our agenda. She has that right to do that, and that's how I like to basically, I come from business, manage the team.
Is there an option, since I'm new, of further discussion about the topic before it goes like to a vote immediately?
Yes, what I'd like first though is a motion and a second, and then absolutely, every council person can have, let's say, 3 minutes of comment time, so we don't take all night.
Oh, I meant at a later, like at the next meeting, so this is not something that we can discuss at greater detail.
This is something that we want to resolve, I want to resolve tonight.
Yes.
Okay,
So you,
so I will make a motion that we vote to remove the prayer.
okay, do I have a second?
Support.
I have a motion and support to remove the prayer from the opening of our agenda. Madam Clerk, can you take?
We can have
is that-
discussion.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll take care of you.
You're gonna take care of me.
That's my job.
Great partnership here. Any discussion on the motion? Yes.
I just wanted to point out, this was one of the first things, I started attending meetings when I was covering meetings for the independent newspaper. And I was surprised that there was a prayer at the beginning of the government meeting. So when I became elected as a council member, I did talk to our city manager about it, to ask about the custom, and was told the same thing, that it's up to the mayor. So I have had conversations with our former mayor about that. But when Emily sent out the email, I agree. I think it is exclusive to groups of people in our community. I would suggest that we replace it with a moment of silence, and people can pray themselves if they would like, or they can put thought to any issues that they are concerned about or just care to give thought to. I think a lot of other councils do that, and other organizations do a moment of silence ahead of the pledge. So that's what I would recommend.
Any other comments?
Can I comment again?
Oh, you may.
Okay, perfect. So I can tell that everybody fervently applauded at the idea of keeping the prayer. And I just question what it is that's lost by making the room more inclusive. Like, where's the harm in allowing the government function, the business, to perform itself? I'm certainly, I respect everybody's religion. I just don't know that it belongs at the outset of a government meeting. So I do wonder, in your decision to keep it, where do you find the harm in removing it?
Well, I'll give you my opinion after all the other opinions, and I'll finalize it. How about that? Any other discussion? Yes, Dan.
The hard, cold reality is removing it is exclusionary to Christians. There is no way to quantify you can't say I'm inclusive by excluding a majority of the population.
Right.
That's
Right.
just absolute backwards from what the meaning of the word is. I myself, was raised Christian, have, as I got older, kind of drifted away from it. And to me, on a personal level, it's not that important. But considering, you know, the city that we represent, I mentioned in July that look at the number of churches in this city compared to the number of people. This is a Christian city.
Amen.
Our prayers have not been Christian denominational. They've been as generic as possibly could be. And frankly, you know, when you go visit a friend's house, if they ask you to take your shoes off, you do. You have respect. You respect people because they have the differences. And there may come a time when us old codgers are long down the road and watching Jeopardy, that the younger kids can come in and make the change. But for now, this is a majority Christian city. This is an appreciated thing in this city. It's a dying sort of a function. I guess that's all.
Any other discussion?
Can I comment again? As a
You may.
response, is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I do worry that your reasoning is in and of itself highlighting the fact that because it's Christian in the town, it should only present a Christian prayer or a prayer of any kind, which by default then means that you're favoring the Christian faith in our town. And that is exactly what I worry, is that we are creating an environment potentially that would make other people that are not Christian or non-religious altogether feel that there is a preference on the council for what is, in your perceived notion, the majority of our town. So where does the representation then fall for everybody else that's not in that category?
Favoring Christian businesses.
If I may. Like I say, myself, I've sort of drifted away from it on the whole, so I'm not here representing the Christians. And I did not, I did say that our prayers were not typically Christian based. They are non-denominational. If someone from another religion were visiting a meeting and wanted to give another prayer, I would have no problem with that whatsoever. And it's not me necessarily that's promoting Christianity, but the people of our city. And the people of our city believe this, and they want representation that will reflect that as well. We're not always going to agree. That's the way the world works, and we live in a democracy, and that's why this is coming for a vote. But other than that, I guess that's kind of it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All right. Yes, Nick. Or
Yeah.
should I say, councilperson?
Yeah. I think this is, a good question, especially in our day and age. I appreciate you, bringing it up. Doing some research on this and looking at, from a historical perspective. I also come back to, legislative bodies and part of our government, our judiciary branch, that has settled this far beyond us as council members. I think there's a lot of power, and the fact that at a local level we have the power to change things, but also to think about how many resolutions have we passed to be in alignment with the state or to be in alignment with the change on a federal level. And I just refer back to the Supreme Court case of the town of Greece and Galloway, and I just want to read a couple things. I'm sure you're probably familiar with it, but I think it's important, and I'll also put where I come from on it. So this was just as a backdrop, a case that went to the Supreme Court about this very issue, about prayer in the state of Greece, New York. And the Supreme Court's ultimate decision was to uphold that it was allowed. And I just want to read a couple things from the syllabus of this. It's an 80-page document. I will not read the whole thing tonight, but it's freely available online on the Supreme Court's website if you want to search this out later. But there's a couple things just to pull out. The main thing being it's not in violation of the Establishment Clause, which is often cited as this part of separation of church and state. But it says this thing, It says two important points. It says, thus, any test must acknowledge a practice that was accepted by the framers of the country, and has withstood the critical scrutiny of time and political change. The court's inquiry then must be to determine whether the prayer practice in the town of Greece fits within the tradition long followed in Congress and the state legislators. And it goes on to say that it does. Another point here that the Chief Justice talk about a inquiry that considers both the setting in which the prayer arises and the audience to whom it is directed shows that the town is not coercing its citizens to engage in a religious observance. The prayer opportunity is evaluated against the backdrop of a historical practice showing that prayer has become part of the nation's heritage and tradition. It is presumed that the reasonable observer is acquainted with this tradition and understands that its purposes are to lend gravity to the public proceedings and to acknowledge the place religion holds in the lives of many private citizens, the Councilman Law said. Furthermore, the principal audience for these invocations is not the public but the lawmakers themselves, and those lawmakers did not direct the public to participate, single out dissidents for approprium, or indicate that their decision might be influenced by a person's acquiescence, my apologies, and the prayer opportunity. In my time on council, having seen and actually led prayer here, I come back to this, is that there is a ton of gravity in the fact that what we're doing is appealing to something beyond ourselves. You can call it God, you can call it whatever you want. And the part in this Supreme Court case that resonates with me personally is that we are appealing to something greater than ourselves. When you think about how laws are made and where does authority come from, where does moral authority come from, what happens if I disagree with Mayor Teich? What happens if I disagree with Councilman Law? Who judges our disagreements of what's right and wrong? And I think that adds a significance to what we're doing here, that we're not just appealing to an individual's opinion. We're not just appealing to what somebody that dares to have the courage to step up to the mic, but that we recognize that there is something greater beyond ourselves here, both woven into the history of our country. Clearly, you can read the Federalist Papers, you can read the Declaration of Independence, which clearly states that we're endowed by a creator. Clearly, the people who framed this country said it's significant that we acknowledge that there's something greater than ourselves in the creation of this country. And so I think there's something important that even us at a local city council in Owosso, Michigan, can recognize that fact. And you also mentioned, could we not just have a moment of silence? And why does it have to be? This syllabus also goes on to talk about how it's actually done before the agenda and everything is set. It's actually structured into this from a governmental level before the nuts and bolts of the meeting actually take place. Whether you want to sit down during it or stand up or bow your head, those are not things that the council or this governmental body dictates anyone do. So I just think from that perspective, I come back to, the Supreme Court has wrestled this, and I come back to there are a lot of higher minds that have wrestled with this and taken it all the way up to that body that we also have as a judiciary part of our checks and balances within our government. And so I think that's something that's significant to recognize here at a local level.
Thank you, Councilperson Biden. Is there any other comments? Yes, Councilperson.
I just wanted to point out that I'm not gonna speak for Councilperson Wilson, but it's not in question if it's legal or not. It's fact that it is. That's been settled. The question is this the forum for it for our community? Because I do feel it is exclusionary. And is that what this council wants to do? So it just comes down to that. And I think there's alternatives that we can offer that make it more inclusive.
Any other comments? I'll just make my comment short. I've been on this council for 7 years.
And I can tell you this, I have never in 7 years had anybody come to me and say that they felt excluded or having the prayer somehow made them feel uncomfortable or didn't want to attend this meeting. Never, not one time in 7 years has anybody come to me. If so, I would have addressed it. But again, the other thing is, you don't look at the nomination, you just look at prayer. I'm a simple person. Prayer is good. Just any kind of prayer. You want to just want to pray for yourself. You know, and say, geez, I wish I don't goof up today on this. I just wish. Prayer is good. And positive prayer is good.
Amen.
Okay? So, I do not feel that the opening prayer excludes anybody, makes them feel that uncomfortable at coming to this meeting. I've never had one person, as I said, come to me and say that they felt uncomfortable because of that. So with that, Madam Clerk, can you take the roll call when you're ready?
Pro-Tem Osika,
So the question is, if I say no,
the question is whether to remove the prayer from the agenda. So if you respond yes, you would be indicating that you would like the prayer to be removed. Okay.
no.
Councilmember Fear,
Yes.
Haver,
No.
Law,
No.
Olson,
Yes.
Heideck,
No.
Mayor Teich.
No. Just for the record, we've addressed this issue. This issue has been answered, and it will not be allowed to be brought up in my mayorship until my mayorship's up in 2 years. If it does get brought up again, I'll say it's out of order. So that issue has been answered, and we will go on with the meeting, and I will hand over now to the consideration of City Council rules and of procedure over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Honorable Mayor and council members, the rules of procedure, most of which are up on the wall behind me, remain under is different every time. And two, the mayor is always last to vote. Moving on from that, rules for addressing a meeting of the city council, and maybe I should have done this before that discussion took place, because there's a very important one also up there in bold, and that is our rules of civility. I'm going to start with that one, even though it's the last one. So council members, city staff, and members of the public will communicate respectfully with each other in their conversations, reports, debates, and testimony. All present in this room for this meeting will listen attentively to others when they are speaking, not interrupt others or carry on side conversations, and when given the floor, will speak to the issues at hand, not engage in personal attacks or use of derogatory language, and will honor the right of all to contribute to the public policy deliberations. With that said, the mayor is responsible for running the meetings. I just want to make that clear. Anyone wishing to be heard must be recognized by the mayor first. That includes members of this council as well as members of the public. The public have very specific instances where they may speak, and that is subject to any change. Right now, that is, we afford two opportunities. One, right after any public hearings before the consent agenda, and the other after the items of business and the communications are both considered. So those are just the important parts I wanted to highlight. But with that, Mr. Mayor, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, City Manager. Before I move on to consideration
of date and time of meetings. Is there any questions regarding consideration of city council rules and procedures? Yes.
The current rules, we actually added a paragraph under subsection number 5 for virtual meetings. And virtual meetings are no longer allowed by the state of Michigan unless you are a member of the military and you're deployed essentially. So I was wondering if you would want those removed, that paragraph removed, so as to avoid confusion.
I got a feeling you're recommending it. And I like it. I'm gonna go with you, so please remove it.
So it's not gonna be okay, and if you wouldn't mind taking action on that as a board.
As a
I'll
board,
make
so
that motion.
Okay, do I have a support? I have a motion to support. This is a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Pro-Tem Osika,
Yes.
Councilmember Fear,
Yes.
Faber,
Yes.
Law,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Heideck,
Yes.
Mayor Teich.
Yes. The motion has been approved. This brings us down to consideration of date and times of meetings. City Manager.
Honorable Mayor and council members, you have before you in your packet the official schedule for the remainder of this calendar year as well as next calendar year. Traditionally, council meetings have been held first and third Mondays of the month at 7:30. On occasion, when there are 5 Mondays in a month, that is an opportunity for you to vote at the previous meeting to hold that meeting for a planning purpose. Or if you wish to conduct business on that 5th Monday meeting after scheduling it, that would require the city, most notably the clerk's office, to post the required notice per state law if any business will be conducted. But right now, your schedule does not have those 5th Monday meetings in it. We have afforded council the right at your second meeting in months that have 5 Mondays to schedule that. But we usually leave it up to you, or if staff has something that they wish to dedicate its own meeting to, then we will bring it up at that point. But that is how it is, that's how your schedule is laid out now. Just as a note, there are 5 Tuesday meetings because a federal holiday lands on that Monday. Those Tuesdays are January 3rd, the 17th of January, February 21st, June 20th, and September 5th. And if you ask me what federal holidays they were, I won't be able to answer that. Sorry. But that is your schedule. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager. Is there any discussion regarding the, yes, Mayor?
I would we meet at 7:30, which is kind of late. I was just wondering if there's any consideration that we can meet at 7. Do you want me to make that motion or?
Any discussion regarding meeting at 7 before Mayor Pro-Tem makes that?
I prefer 7:30. Just because with the kids, it just after school stuff, and it just gives a little extra more time for them.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to move our meetings to 7 p.m.
Do I have support? No support, so the motion is denied. Will remain at 7:30. Okay. Right now, I need a motion to approve the, basically the date and time of meetings.
So moved. Support.
City Clerk.
Pro-Tem Osika,
Yes.
Councilmember Fear,
Yes.
Faber,
Yes.
Law,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Heideck,
Yes.
Mayor Teich.
Yes. The meeting, the date and time of meetings have been approved. I need
motion? Or just,
No, no citizen comments.
oh, we have, is there a time limit on citizen comments?
These at, the discretion
Then
of
of the mayor.
council, but yeah.
For the organizational meeting, is that, it is the mayor's prerogative, yeah, you can set a time limit.
Okay, well, I guess it's time for, like we have in our regular, meetings, time for, citizen comments and questions. If you would, if you have any comments or questions, if you would come to the podium, state your name and address. You may approach the podium now. Randy?
Just showing where the
Oh, where the podium is. Okay. And I will allow up to four minutes for the comments and
Hi,
questions.
my name is Stacey Jameson, 425 North Water Street. I just had 2 quick comments. One was I emailed a few of the members individually. I got no response back last week. So I just would hope that in the future that we could get a response of at least, hey, I received your email, thank you for your comments. I think that that's an acceptable request for any constituent within the community. Second is that as a member of the community, and you said you hadn't received any person saying they're uncomfortable with the prayer. I am uncomfortable with the prayer, something that would make me feel, not welcome here as somebody who's not of the Christian faith. So I think there are more of us out there. I know I'm sitting with other people in this room who are not comfortable with that. So I realize that maybe that hasn't been expressed to you in the past, but there are other people. So it's not necessarily that we don't, want other people who are Christian to feel, but it's more about an inclusivity thing. So that's all.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate that. This is one nation under God. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Cooper from Owosso. I want to thank the council for holding up our values. It's my understanding that our new council member came from out of state. She doesn't hold our values. I hope that we take this seriously. Our community does. And the Supreme Court has settled these issues. I thank you, Mayor, for holding it. And thank you, Mrs. Hyde, for bringing up Supreme Court documentation. I thank you all who have been representing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Holly Jo Edwards, 1313 North Gould Street, Owosso, Michigan. I just want to know why one certain person didn't stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I think that's very disrespectful. I hope that that gets addressed. We're here, we live in the United States, and that's what we're here to support, our Constitution, and I think that's very important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Mike Klein, 204 Stratford Drive, and for the audience, I am the Mike Klein of the Owosso City Council. Mr. Teich, I'd like to remind you of a statement that you just made tonight. I'm not trying to put a bad taste in your mouth. Congratulations on your first night for being the mayor, but you made a statement that might get the city into trouble. And you made a statement that said, if anybody brought up what you said about, you would say, out of order, this podium is a First Amendment protected activity, and that you would open yourself up for a lawsuit if you shut somebody down for a First Amendment protected activity. I would highly advise, please watch yourself, because we already know from the newspapers that there is a certain individual that isn't afraid to sue almost any municipality in this town. First Amendment protected activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, I don't know why I'm standing up, but congratulations, Mayor Teich. Couple things. I wanted to address what Mr. Klein just said. I think he was referring to the council members bringing it up, not our right to come up here and speak. So I just wanted to kind of say that. So Mike Klein, great guy, but I just think that's what Mr. Teich meant, or Mayor Teich meant, was the council wasn't going to be bringing that particular item up again. Feel free to stand at this podium and say whatever you want. Tom, thank you for bird dogging and always bringing things like that, excuse me, up to everybody's attention. However, first of all, I think probably Ms. Olson, Councilmember Olson, didn't know those procedures and she wasn't sworn in yet. So we're probably not open to any sort of lawsuit there. So just a couple observations I made. I just want to bring that stuff up. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would like to say something. This may sound very basic and obvious, but I just want to make a very simple comment about, and having been in government and in politics for over 40 years, and having chaired the Board of Commissioners for many of those years, the flag symbolizes something in this country. And most of us come from immigrant backgrounds, I'm sure. At some point we did. I know both of my sides of my family came here with the Statue of Liberty and the flag, and took, and great hardship to get here because it meant something. Symbols in a society do mean something. And the very reason that all of you are sitting here, and you all know that, is because you won a fair election in a democratic process, a fair and balanced election. And that democracy was given to us, very hard fought, in battles and wars, and our veterans that we owe so much to. And that flag represents that to me. I was raised that way, I feel that way. I think the flag, disrespecting the flag, says a lot. And it's a very obvious thing. You're sitting in this chair tonight because of our democracy. That didn't come easily, and it's not held easily. We all have to continue to fight for that. You took an oath before the meeting. Put your hand up. Why not rebel against that? I mean, that's to our Constitution. That's to some, you know, we take oaths, we say things like, are you aware that in a judicial setting, in the chambers, you know what makes it legal? The American flag and the Michigan flag in Michigan. That makes the courtroom a legal courtroom. You can have them in other places, just have the two flags there. Symbolism is very important to hold a society together. And I just feel very strongly about that. I still revere the things that my grandparents and my parents believed in and came here for. So, you know, we can't take it for granted. And you're the people who represent us and role models for our children and the next generation. But the flag needs to be respected, in my opinion.
Yeah, well said. Any other comments? Eddie?
Don't stop the 5 to 4 minutes yet. Okay. My name is Ed Urban, 601 Glenwood, Owosso. When I come here, I like making people laugh because laughter is the best thing. I don't argue about religion. I don't argue about politics. You lose your best friends. They get so tight on that. And couple things I want to hit on besides that is that I try to break up arguments. It gets really loud and rowdy in here sometimes, and I try to cool it down by telling jokes or saying something funny or something. It breaks the ice, and sometimes it calms down the people, and they come back to reality. This is a place where we gotta help each other out and help the city grow and everything like that. And I could have swore I can't hear good because of Cambodia, Vietnam, I don't have here, most people that know me know I'm pretty deaf. And, I thought our new mayor said he'd do anything for anybody here and something for everybody here working up front, but I thought he might have said, help me too, and us back here, cause well, in the winter, my sidewalk needs shoveling and my lawn needs mowing, not doing nothing. But,
I think your hair is pretty good.
The second thing is, before everybody goes, after this, I'd like to use that table over there. I brought, from the military order, the Purple Heart, basically, a lot of refreshments, so there's food, drink, stuff out there. There's probably eating some now in the back, out there in the hallway. But I'd like to put it on that table over there, getting ready for the next meeting coming up next. Try to get along as best as you can. Our church is pushing for, it changed my whole life. If somebody's a different sex-minded or something, you don't have to make love to them, just love them. The Bible says, different Bibles, say love your neighbor, this and that. Just accept people how they are and get on with life. It's too short to be arguing and nitpicking. I mean, if anybody's different, it's me.
Thank you. Any other comments? If there are no other comments, I will take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned, and we're going to take a 5-minute break.